Okay, this is the third video in a series of videos I'm going to do on the programs Forex Strategy Builder and Trader. What I'm going to do is just pick up on some things I might have missed on the first video. What I have loaded in here is a strategy I developed for USD JPY 1R version 1 is called. It's a very nice strategy. It's been making money for me on demo. I'm going to upload it in the first post just to have something you can run and look at a little bit. It opens with the bar opening, uses the money flow index. It has sort of unusual periods of 150 and 50. Market facilitation index, there is no periods on the market facilitation index. And then for a close, it just uses an XR, which is like 0700 Greenwich Mean Time. If we're here in the U.S., it's probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. But it's been making money, and it's making money tonight. And every night it's made money. So I don't know whether it will go on like that. The yen right now is sort of trending nicely, so we'll have to see. But at least I know this one's working, and so far it's been the best one I have had up and running. So over here you can see the equity chart. I'm going to go in and the generator and bring it up in the generator. I'm going to lock all this down. Let's say I have a strategy I don't want to lose in here. Okay, so let's say I lock everything down. For some reason I unlock everything and go up there and hit this new generate new strategy at restart, and what's going to happen? I lose everything. Okay, so you can get out of that very quickly. Okay, just go back here and hit cancel. Do you want to accept the generated strategy? Hit no, and I'll just take you back in here. You're back where you started. And then just go back under generated again. Okay, and you're back there, and you can lock everything down as proper. Okay. Let's say, and I'm not worried about losing this really now, let's say that I want to generate new strategies at every start. So, you know, let's use this as a base maybe, starting here. If you leave them all open, it really isn't a base, okay? So I'm going to leave them all open just to show you what happens when you hit this generate a new strategy every start. So if you're just playing around and you're trying to get some ideas, this is something you can do. You can adjust your logic here, like put two opening slots, so now you can only have two. And so it can change, the generate new strategy now can change everything here. But it won't use any more than two logic slots or any more than two closing logic slots. But all these things can be changed. It can change the point of entry, it can change the exit, it can change the lot. So what happens is you just hit generate. And I leave this box up here where it says working time at 0. And what that means, it'll just go on for infinity if I let it run. You can set it for a time. I mean, if you want to go out to eat or something, you just want to see what happens at 15 minutes, you can set it for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and it'll shut off in that amount of time. I just, for working purposes, just leave it at 0. Okay, so you see there's not a whole lot changing now over here. So I let it run out a little bit. Now it's changing some more. And I usually let things run out about 10,000 calculations. And as you see, with the equity chart's starting to improve. And I look over here and see what's developing. And if I start liking the equity chart, I might start locking down some things. Or if I see something in here that looks particularly good as a opening point or a closing point, okay, now I'm going to stop that because I sort of like the last equity chart, but now I got this sort of garbage looking equity chart in here. And now I'm going to go up under top 10, and I'm going to go back and pick out that that nice looking equity chart. It's not perfect, but it's a nice start. Okay, so there it is. That's where it was. I'm back there. So now let's look at the equity chart. It's a pretty decent start place, and since it seems to be the best one I got here right now, I might want to go up and just lock down this and lock down this and this, and leave the logic and the opening sort of open here and see what happens, see if we can get a little better picture there, equity curve there. And also it can change the properties up here. Right now we got like a looks like 100 permanent stop, 245 pip permanent take profit, and that kind of stuff. So that stuff can change too still. So we hit generate again, and it's sort of staying pretty good. It's it's going through some changes there. I'm going to let it run out about 10,000. So this just shows you how you can use the generate a new strategy every time button. Now if I hit this stop, it would get rid of all this and it would start all over again. But it would still use these locked down positions just as they are. It would not try to change them or anything, but it might change in here. So if you go back here, you'll see this still in there. And so what I'm going to do is stop it again. So I've stopped it again, and it's not going to try to improve this what's here. But if you go over to the top 10, you'll see the last top 10. But what happens when I hit this generator button again is you have the possibility of losing some of these over here. So sometimes you might want to go over and just look through this and see if there's some things there you want to look at as far as the maximum drawdown, profit per day. Some of these might actually be a little better. You might want to use those as your base rather than what you have over here as your base, and just change those out a little bit. But if that's not true, you go back. So it's just little things to do. Now, of course, the precautionary thing to do is, let's say you really like this and you don't want it to change at all. You immediately want to go up here and turn that off. You do not want to have that checked anymore. You're not going to generate no more strategies. What you're going to want to do is, this is going to be your base strategy, and you're just going to want to improve it, is what you're going to do. So you're going to look at this and you're going to decide how many maximum number of closing slots do I want, logic slots do I want. Well, let's just leave it at 1. We're going to keep this locked down. We don't want to add anything here. And let's say we'll leave the Bollinger Bands open as far as that logic goes, and we'll allow one more into this, but we're going to lock this down. So what this is going to do is just try to improve what's here. It's not going to generate new strategies every time you hit this button. So that's what I wanted you to know, that every time this is checked, every time you hit generate, it's going to just bring everything back and start to generate a new strategy based on the fact that you've hit that button again. So it's sort of something you need to get into your mind, how you're working with this. Get in the habit, if you see something you really like, of just turning it off and working from there. Or if you just want to experiment and play, put it on and just, see what comes up. But remember, once you see something you like, you need to turn it off. So that's really what I wanted to say about that. Now, as you exit out of here, of course, you're always going to get this little tab that says, do you want to accept this generated strategy? If you do, what you're going to do is, this is going to be saved, and you're going to go out like this, and it's going to be there. But that only shows up under here as under open as the generated strategy if you save it. See, do you want to save the current strategy, generate XML? So you don't want to open up that and not save generated strategy. So yes, you want to save it. Okay. Now you could load something else in, but the generated that you just did would be there. But better yet, what you want to do is take this one you just developed and just save it. Save it as something. And, I forget where we're at, JPYN, whatever you want to name it. Just save it, then you got it, and you can open something else up you want to play with and come back to this later or whatever you want to do. But just to think about the interface, think about what you're doing when you open up different sections of it. Do you need to save? Do you need to check a box off. Do you need to? And so it's a pretty deep interface, and it's good to look at that stuff so you don't mess up something and regret or have to just go back out and then go back in, and it just saves you a few steps here and there, and sometimes saves you a good-looking equity chart that you want to work on maybe. So while we're out here, let's look at the interface again and just look at these indicator charts, since there's quite a few on there. It's below the indicator up, and as you see, I got my little thingy in the way there. You got all the information over here in the panel of what's going on with the Stark bands, the Bollinger Bands, Dochian channel, whatnot. What you also notice that is for each of the logical positions, like for the closing here, closing price, it tells you what that will be. Stark band, upper band, close out long position, no, close out short position. What that means is that the conditions aren't applicable yet. The indicators aren't showing, these bands aren't showing what's going to happen to close these positions. So yes, this will turn close out short position, and closing price of the bar will be 31.70 or something like that, if that was to be yes, or for the short or long. So it just gives you information over here about how all this works, and why that is important is if you use some little bit of bizarre settings, it may take you a little while to figure out what's going on with this chart, because things just aren't looking like what they normally do. So you might find some pretty large settings or some pretty small settings, or some things you're not used to looking at. You may need to explore this chart so you know what is happening with things. And what I mean by that is you're going to go under here, under strategy, over here, and I must have something still open here. Hold on. I had my chart still. I had this chart still up, and it didn't have it closed, so I wouldn't go to anything else over here on the main screen. Just so you know what happened there. But so you look at this chart, but if you go up under strategy and the overview, now you're going to get down here and you're going to see very precise logic. And if you don't know what that logic means, if you don't understand it, you can go to the chart and just sort of figure out what's happening with the indicators and go back and forth between that and the logic, because it's really cool to be able to use some of these bizarre settings with the logic, but sometimes they get explained in a way that's a little hard to understand in the strategy overview. And seeing that the programmer is Bulgarian too, I've run into a couple occasions where, like for the Bollinger Bands, he exited at the middle band, but it was written at the upper band in the logic. So I think there was something lost in translation there. And I don't think it's major, but I think sometimes you need, if you don't understand something, to go over and look at the chart. And those are things that will probably be done the same way every time, so once you figure it out, you'll know what he means. But it's just some things, because of the international flavor of this development team that's developed this software, that we may need to look at and try to adjust to. Now, of course, we've got the equity chart now filled in, and we can now enlarge it, and of course you see the chart again here. If you go back, it has a slider. If you go back, you can see the different places where the decisions were made, and floating profits, whatever. And it's there to review each and every section of the tested area that you did in your generator. You got a nice info chart. So that's all stuff you can explore on your own. Now up here, now you have an account balance filled in. I got something still open here. I got the strategy still open, so everything I can't get to it now. So anyway, now I can get to the equity chart, and I showed you that. Up here is trying to get to. Okay, I was trying to enlarge this account statistics, but it actually doesn't enlarge. What you have is just a pull down menu here, so a slider. So But basically, as you slide it down, you can see what the profit is supposed to be per day. Doesn't look fantastic, but count balance. You get down here and look how many times it's supposed to trade. Winning trades 47, losing trades 51. Not really great statistics, but we really weren't trying to do anything. It was just demonstration purposes. But everything's filled in there now. I just wanted to show you that again, and that you could see that. Now there's something else I didn't show you. I don't believe in the first video. I think I brushed past it. Under tools, there's this optimizer. It's there for kicks. Okay, you do see your different indicators and the present values and stuff, and you can optimize down here. Press this button, optimize this balanced equity curve. But what's going to happen is that it's going to overfit your data, and the site doesn't recommend even using it. Certainly not anything you're going to use on a real account. I think it's on here mostly for kicks, to show you what really happens when you over-optimize, and it really, there's nothing to be a whole lot gained by using this. There's so much power in this software that you don't need to get in here and start trying to optimize something. You're just turning this brilliant software into a MetaTrader, and that's not what you want to do. So this is the kind of crap that MetaTrader tries to pull in, but this does not function very well for getting a good strategy together. So it's on here, and at the site you're going to see a big warning not to use this on a live. If you look up for the help and you look this up, it's going to say there'll be a big warning there that says not to use this in real life. But it's in the software. I just wanted to show you in case you see it and you start playing with it. I want you to be aware what it actually is, and really just don't waste your time on it. You know, once you have the program learned, you're having fun with the program, you can go back and take a look at it if you want. But there's already enough risk of overfitting when you're in the generator, and I've already showed you that. And there's safeguards throughout the program to try to keep that from happening. So I just wanted to point that out too. That was something else I didn't point out that should have been pointed out in that first video. So that is all I want to say right now about these two software packages. What I may come up with now in future is some videos regarding some specific things I want to try to do or have found very helpful, or something that you have a question about. I really want to get into this off myself and go through this wiki and see what has really improved over the year I first started using this software. I haven't been really using it lately. It's just really recently that I really started to see the power this could have for us, and the what it could be used for in trading. I originally didn't really have the insight that I have now about this software, but I think it can be very valuable for building EAs. If you take a look within the different indicator areas, like for the opening logic, you have a bunch of indicators in here. I mean, you have a huge amount of indicators. We have a lot of choice in here to experiment out beyond some of the kind of coding we're used to seeing from Steve, where we do things that couldn't be done in a program like this. Steve will continue to do that stuff, but it's nice to go back and look at some fundamental indicators and be able to put together some strategy ourselves and sort of explore a lot of different ones. And if you can get 15 or 20 and get a couple good strategies out of them, you can build them so quickly and get them running so quickly and test them so quickly, we could come up with quite a few really nice EAs. So that's the whole point of this. So for those on YouTube that have been watching these videos, this is part of a series of videos I have done to introduce the members of StephenHopwood.com under the automatic trading section on this software, and to get us up to speed using it. There is a forum with the heading of the Forex Strategy Builder and Trader there under the forum there, under automated trading, there is a thread that I have developed and that you can participate in. So if you're not a member of Stephen Hopwood, you can join and you can participate in that thread if you wish and share your findings with the software, and hopefully we'll have a lively group there exploring the software, sharing strategies, finding ones that work, improving them, and just having a lot of fun with this software, because it really empowers people that don't know how to code. They now can take a software idea and they make them very mechanical trading system that works, with the trader and possibly could develop into an EA. Now, one thing I wanted to mention that I have mentioned before, and it's very simple concept here, and I should have mentioned it before, is that you are only developing the logic for the long here, okay? What the software does is it does the logic itself for the short. So it takes the long logic and reverses it and puts the short logic in. So you only have to develop for one direction, which is the long. And that's a very simple concept, but if you saw me doing all this, you might wonder, why am I just dealing with the long? And that really is the reason why, because the software is capable of actually generating the short position. So it really makes it even more simple that you don't have to think about the short position, and it's always going to be very accurate because you're just doing the long position. So have a great day, and I hope you enjoy using the software very much. And I will be posting a link to this software on stephenhopwood.com and under the automatic trading section, and there will be a thread there on Forex Trader, Forex Builder, and you'll see it and you'll know what it is if you find it there.